Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendan Traxler.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ASC live stream. I am one of your three hosts this evening, Adam Jewell. We got Brendan Traxler up there.
Hello.
Okay, calm down. You interrupted. And Babe Hyde.
Well, here's what I got thinking. It goes into a podcast, they don't know who we are. They don't know. So it's like, you do it all. So maybe if we said, hey, I'm Brendan, or hello to when you're announcing us, they can associate the voices with the person then.
Well, maybe we need to talk about this months in advance so I'm prepared for it rather than you just cut me off.
Okay.
Anyways, guys, we have a great business opportunity for you today. So it starts that if all of you have two friends, and then if they have two friends, no, I'm kidding.
Talking about things months in advance. I had no idea where you're going with this.
We're turning this into a multi-level marketing thing. So we're gonna do. What's new with you guys? It's been a bit, been a few weeks.
I mean, you and me have talked at him, but yeah, Babe's. We haven't talked much, but we were talking about before. We're starting to have monthly, business meetings, things like that. So we're going to be having another one that's coming up next week.
A gathering of the minds.
Yes, as we focus on this whole thing and the big plans I have for this year for us to be doing, so we can get all that stuff going. But no, otherwise I'll go over some of the other stuff I've been working on later on in the episode tonight. But Babe, what you been up to?
Oh, I don't even think I talked to you guys since I started my new job.
I don't think you have. I know that you were going to.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've talked since you started it.
Yeah, I started it. And 2 weeks of madhouse training, and then off on your own. See ya.
Are you enjoying it?
Oh yeah. I mean, as far as work, it's not hard.
Yeah. Well, don't jinx yourself now. You're gonna go into work tomorrow. They'll be like, all right, you're running the show by yourself now.
That's the thing. I can't kill anybody with what I'm doing now, so I'm good.
Hey, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want to do.
There is one I wanted to today, and wouldn't stop sending me messages about a patient. It was awful.
Guys, everybody, this is how your medical care providers
when
you're not around, be like, could have killed that guy.
Let's not be violating any HIPAA laws here tonight, guys.
Nah,
he just said that. This guy, he's allowed to say that.
And it was another medical professional talking about a patient to me. That's what it was. They were the ones, and they dropped the ball, and they were trying to get me to help pick up the slack, is what it was.
Hey, I think that's at every job sometimes.
Yeah, Adam, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Brendan and I, we did a little side project the other day. That was kind of fun. Otherwise, life of the Jewel household. It's dance season again, so we got like dance competitions and stuff. Yeah, so it's fun. But
you got your dance shoes?
Nah, my kid.
Okay.
That's how exciting everything is here. Where it's just like that's the news I have to report. Is just like my kid has dance competitions, and hey, she won a couple, by the way, guys. Just so you know.
Cool.
And I want everybody in the ASC world to know that. But no, pretty uneventful. Just work. Brendan, what's that? Let's talk a little bit of business. What's got any updates you want to share before we get into the beef of this, the meat and potatoes of this?
Sure, we can go over that. I was going to wait.
Do we want to start with the veggies? Veggies is like the news.
So one thing I got. So there's an organization called the Ocean Edition, and they're a company that basically they're working with other hotels and resorts and some of those lines that are ocean based, whether floating or whatever like that. And so they reached out to me. The the leader of the president, where we, her name's Rachel, and her and me had a Zoom the other day, just talking about what they're doing, what we're doing, and if there's any way we can, what can happen. She's kind of asking, what we needed as far as ASC goes. We had a really good conversation. Whether anything will come from it, I don't know. She said she's heading over to Dubai here pretty soon for a big boat show, and they do a lot of those, and she shows up to a lot of those. So I sent her a bunch of information, and maybe something will come from that.
A lot of money in Dubai.
Yeah. So we were talking that, money and really where we're at and what we need. So I was kind of explaining all that. So there's that. Also, yeah, I haven't told you guys this either, but going to be getting some more artwork, changing some of the design elements to allow access to the habitat via almost like a stair shaft from above, so it can be beside like a dock or something along those lines and access there. After talking to her, some of that came up as far as, so if you want to scuba, you can, but if you don't want that, you just want to walk down a pier, kind of like the Maraca over in, was it Bora Bora or Tahiti or wherever. So it wouldn't be your true, out in the middle of water, underwater habitat at this point in time, but it'd be a stair step to that. So I'm going to get some of that because I've got some emailing to some different locations to try to drum up business. And this is one of the things her and me talked about. Was I said in the past I've always been more, I don't want to get the cart in front of the horse type of situation with a lot of this. So we haven't really looked out too many locations to put the underwater habitat because I didn't feel we were far enough along to be able to start having those conversations. We have the rock quarry over in Alabama that is verbally said, "Hey, yeah, you build it, we're good," type of thing. But she says if you're looking for investors, they obviously would like to see a little bit more. And yes, she goes, most of the people aren't going to understand what transpires here. So she encouraged me to start trying to find locations that would be interested in sign on, be like, "Hey, yeah, when this thing gets built, we'd be very interested in having your location here." So that's where the artwork comes in to give some different perspectives as I start emailing these different locations. So I've already started building that database there of potential locations and to get the artwork. And so that's over the next couple months, something I'm going to be focusing on a lot is trying to make those connections and just see what we get. I think that one thing that the Seasteading Institute and the organizations under that, whether it's Arctide, ArcPad, Ocean Builders, they have definitely raised some notoriety about the potentials of using the ocean for some sort of, getaway, Airbnb, whatever it may be, type of thing. And even though none of them, Arctide and Ocean Builders actually have something in the water and they're showing off, and you can book or buy them. Nobody else really does, and so it's very, very early on in this whole thing. So if we can use some of that notoriety that's going out there, and same thing, Deep I just saw an article come through Forbes today about Deep and their underwater habitat. Fabian Cousteau, he's actually redesigned Proteus. It looks completely different now. And so once again, that's out in the news. So there's a lot of news coming out here about either floating or under the water that's been trickling through the news and stuff like that. So I think people are seeing it and hearing about it. And if we can strike on that while it's hot right now with this type of marketing to them, I think that, we'll see what happens.
So some questions. This was that thing with Fabian Cousteau. Did it look something like the Deep one?
No, it looks more like,
it wasn't something else about.
Yeah, it looks more like a mix between Poseidon Undersea Resorts and Planet Ocean Underwater Hotel.
Okay.
It's like 2 levels high and then it's like a long pier. I should have had pictures up here.
I think I did see it then. Yeah.
Fabian was doing a video just the other day, like a week or two ago, and it was in the background when he was doing these slides and stuff like that. It popped up there, so he's completely. The only way I found it was I had to go get the video and then screenshot pictures of it from the video. And actually, Martin Henke over in Turkey, him and I were talking about that, and that's something else that we're talking about. Martin and I are, we're still trying to figure out how to work things out. Plus, bring in the guys down in Costa Rica. and because they're very interested in, getting in with what Martin and I have as far as this communication. So this conversation we're having is, can we bring these three groups together to move things forward, and how does that look, and is that too much? So there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on behind the scenes, it seems like, with not much traction. But I think that, whether it's that raffle I talked about, we can get that moving. Where are you going there? Or these emails and whatnot. I think that there's definitely some potentials in 2024 to, if nothing else, really get the name even out there more than it is, and get it more into more and more places than we have before. Were you looking it up over there, Adam?
I was trying to find it.
Yeah, like I said, I can't. The only place I found was that video, and I screenshotted it.
What?
Oh wait.
Yep.
Hold on. I'm going to share my screen here in a second. This is a fairly new. Definitely doesn't look like the.
Yeah, it doesn't look anything like the Proteus before. Yeah, it's more your standard. Like I say, the ones that have been shown before. It's still big. It's still a large size.
Is that?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
That looks like some AI generated one.
Yeah.
That's what pulled up on the new article about it.
Yeah. But here, if you guys want to talk for a little bit, I got the images. I'll try to find it real fast.
I don't really like talking to Babe that much.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you then.
I was going to bring up the fact that I like the idea because, I toyed with it, but I never was going to mess with your goals of ASC, but I like bringing up a surface model, because we're not stuck to that. We can still do the other. It's just
and a lot of this,
how you want to build it
has been, how do we, it's all about foundation and not going big at the beginning, but laying blocks to build upon that to get to where we want it to be, type of thing. Here I found these images. Let me see if I can't.
Well, pull up a jet ski or a sailboat or a kayak right up to it and go home, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because that's one of the. I mean, for years we've. What do we got here?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh yeah, I think you and I did talk about this one time before.
And so there's your side view of it. There's another render of it. But yeah, you can see that it's a 3-story there, and it's huge still. Actually, it looks like it's probably bigger than the original Proteus.
I would say it looks.
Yeah.
It looks a lot. I wouldn't say a lot bigger, but bigger.
Yeah.
Because the original looking Proteus was those pods that are on that long stem, just going around the top, the cylinder area.
Yeah.
Going up.
So yeah, it's substantially bigger. I hope we don't get another email from them asking us to cease and desist on this, but for showing it.
I wanted to bring it up. I was going to ask him, like, are we getting in trouble for it this time?
We might. So yeah, so
free publicity for them.
That's what I thought. They've already put it's out on the YouTube right now, so it's like I don't know why it's a big deal.
Yeah, and we're not monetizing off of it, so
we're not copying their stuff. Yeah,
no, not at all.
I feel like someone else would be a little upset about it, but that's for a different conversation.
Well, I mean, so let's get on to our topic for this evening.
Yeah, aliens, man. Let's do it. No, I'm kidding.
Space versus the ocean.
Oh, man, I was completely caught off guard.
I mean, it could relate it. I mean, there's probably, but either way, the reason as I was telling Babe beforehand, I think I've mentioned this before, is I plan on making like a quality video for YouTube on this topic, but I think it's timely because I've been hearing a lot about just the difficulties and the questions of how are we going to make the moon and Mars actually work. As we're getting ready to, by the end of the decade, supposed to be back on the moon again. And then Mars soon after is how does that all play out? And, we can really quickly go down just beforehand here, some of the aspects of it, the cons, the cons that any kind of the space is that, you've got several different things going against you. You got radiation. So that means you have to either have really well sheltered habitats or below ground resources, especially on the moon. You're going to have everything sent to you at first. So that's tons of flights of stuff to get there. The environmental issues, the lack of gravity, all these type of things that weigh into the lack of bone density, muscle, and all that kind of stuff. That it is going to be huge, which then leads into a psychological standpoints as well.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that I'm sure you mentioned it, on a lot of these missions, especially if it's about colonization, or even if it's not about colonization, but setting things up, there's a huge gamble of you might not be coming back from
right.
That. And
the moon not as bad as Mars, but still, either way, each time you launch, I mean, it's a potential.
Yeah. Well, I think there's been plenty of the people that have had the ambition of Mars being like, the first people that are going to go are probably going to end up having to stay there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing too is the cost. I mean, fortunately, SpaceX is bringing that cost down, and Starship, when it's getting going, it's going to bring that cost down tremendously. But up till now, it's been astronomical to ship anything into space or to launch anything. So that cost has not been justifiable at this point in time. And that's one of the big arguments for why the whole space race and the going back to the moon never happened after the 70s anymore, is there was no financial incentive to keep on funding a space race like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you want to get the politics of it, there's the governance and the ethical and all that kind of stuff that comes into play with who owns what. Are we going to get into land disputes again and all that kind of stuff is what comes in there. And then, obviously, this is one that even you deal with underwater too. But the psychological standpoints of the whole thing is isolation. You're days away from home, which isn't as bad as Mars, where it's months away from home, but
or longer.
Yeah, or longer, depending on where that rotation is. Especially at first when there's going to be limited people there. If you don't like the people you're with, or they're getting on your nerves after a couple of weeks, you might be in trouble, type of thing. So, which, I mean, that's been a big thing they've tested for years is the social aspect of the thing. So I think they try to partner people up with a similar, that they make sure they're going to get along. But when we start working with, even with the International Space Station, I'm sure it happens now where you get these different governments sending different people together, type of thing. It's not always going to be the case. So,
well, I think you get a lot of that research, and even not only with like a lot of this, like the space station stuff, but a lot of the submarine missions too, because you're submersed in like submarines for very long periods of time where there's nothing to look at. So you're literally in like this, this big old like metal tube at the, the bottom of the ocean or whatever for possibly months on end.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and most of the time, especially if it's military, obviously, without communication, because like the whole point is stealth, obviously. So it's just like I've listened to a lot of podcasts and watched documentaries about the amount of work they go into trying to psychologically, like what you're talking about, make it so it's like these people do not go nuts, because I mean, not as far as even like how they decorate the walls so that it tricks your mind into like feeling like they're, you can get a sense of nature or something, like, even though it's just like a visual trick and stuff.
Yeah, talking about the submarines, the Russians, they had the largest submarine ever in the world, and it had a swimming pool inside of it for that part of that reason, so that there was something for the their sailors and stuff to do to have some kind of diversion while they're in there too. So yeah. But like I say, that's why I said the psychological aspects apply both to space as underwater. I think the one benefit you have to the ocean for the psychological effect is you can come to the surface, or you can come into civilization within a relatively short period of time. Even if you're in a decompression chamber or something like that, your people can be just inches away from you and stuff along those lines, and you can have that communication face to face as well. So there's that. But once again, there are cons as well to the underwater aspect too, which is the pressure and designing against that, especially when you start going deeper. That means you're going to be in a smaller, more cramped area versus the moon or Mars, where you can build bigger things because you don't have the pressure you have to deal with, and the construction isn't going to be as difficult versus underwater. And you can go outside on any of these, but when the deeper you get in the water, the less you're going to be able to go outside, or the ability to do that is. Now, obviously, at first, you're not going to have these deep underwater habitats, and same thing in space, you're going to have large, sprawling communities there either. So I think that that's the one thing about the space versus the ocean, why it's such a compelling argument, is because they are nearly identical in a lot of their pros and their cons. And so that's why it's the big argument is why does which one's not to say better, because I think they're both viable options, but which one should be getting more treatment than the other.
Right.
So with both of them, I think some of the other stuff that it raises is sustainability. Can you sustain a moon or a Mars colony easier or more difficultly than you could an underwater habitat as well? I mean, obviously, we're going to be biased a little bit here, I think, to an extent, but at the same time, because you are on Earth and you can grow pretty much any of your stuff, your food, in your habitats or near it, the sustainability aspect of an ocean underwater habitat, colony, whatever, I think makes more sense. You can get your oxygen from the water. You can get your water from the water. You can get your energy from the water. You can get everything you need from the surrounding area. Versus let's just talk about moon. There's nothing there. You can't grow stuff outside. You're going to have to do everything inside. You're going to have to produce your own oxygen. You're going to have to produce your own everything. So the technological, even though we've got 60, 70 years now of scientific technology for space, it's still going to be a whole lot harder, I think, to sustain a moon moon colony at this point in time. There would be an underwater one. But, once again, I'm trying not to be super biased about this and say that the oceans is the better fit. That's just my take on it. So, I mean, you guys are more than welcome to chime in here on any of these things I'm talking about and agree or disagree or add to it too.
No, thanks.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to echo kind of what you said, just mathematically, logistically and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it just makes a million times more sense when you're looking just at the dollar, because of, like you said, logistics of getting supplies that you can't actually harness yourself. If you had to get stuff that you can't harness yourself, like you said, being amongst the ocean or whatever body of water you're in, there is desalination technology out there. You can get drinkable water from salt water. Is it still like finicky maybe or expensive and all that stuff? Sure, but it's possible. There is all types of power generation from, whether it's waves or solar or whatever that you can have hooked up. And there's, all sorts of possibilities of getting food and stuff too, whether you had a surface level farm or whatever, like kind of like what the seasteaders or whatever would be doing. Or it's also super easy for stuff to be brought in if you need it, obviously too. Whereas, like you said, any of that stuff, like you were saying, takes months of planning, if not longer, to launch to somewhere, and you better hope that nothing goes wrong on it, especially if you got like let's just say 10 people on the moon or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, we got your next supply coming here, and it's like, oh, that shuttle blew up. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I know it's a movie, but the Martian or whatever.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
is a concern.
Yeah. Because when they were trying to save him and all that stuff, they kept having problems go wrong with it. So yeah, it was whereas obviously there's risks in what we would do.
Sure.
But just like in anything really, but you're on the same planet, and you're going to have communication systems and all that. You're going to have fail safes. You're going to have so many things that can mitigate risks and problems much more accessible than a completely brand new adventure.
And that's one of the reasons also why we're focused at first to be very shallow in our habitats, to have those hours and hours and days and weeks and months worth of understanding of what we're building, so that we can slowly go deeper and deeper with that technology. Even though, like say, same thing, there's been as many years in underwater habitats as there has been trying to get in space and do something along those lines too. That it's still, both of them are still kind of in the infancy, even though it's 60 years of it. We're still learning stuff. We're still figuring stuff out. We're still making it better. And a lot of it comes down to technology. New technologies are coming out now with 3D printing stuff. One of the space things, Bigelow, was an organization that kind of went under, but they were trying to develop these pods that inflated in space to make huge, habitats that would attach onto the space station and stuff. And that technology is still moving forward, but it's these technologies that will come down in cost and will greatly advance either the space or the ocean. The more and more that we spend time in there, and the more and more people are focused on that, and the more and more need there is for those things, we'll see the cost of desalination come down. We'll see the cost of, like, so with SpaceX, the cost of sending stuff to space come down. These costs will come down, and because of that, there'll be a much more level playing field on which one's better than the other, I think.
Yeah, it's I was going to say that, people live in the International Space Station, but that is not the same as living on the moon, because there is gravity on the moon. So no one's done that yet.
Right.
What's the physiological effects of that's going to be? And, to be a smart aleck, moon dust taco just doesn't sound all that good to me.
Yeah.
As far as food from, your environment. So
Olay.
there's a lot more to go into it. Even if you threw out the dollar for dollar thing and just equal, power sources, and it, so, with solar energy's gotten a lot better, so you can do solar on the moon, and I'm sure on Mars too. So, but still, without dollar, like I said, throughout dollar for dollar, right now, with humans, the physiology that we have, we're still better off here.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not, I think space awesome. I'd go there in a heartbeat if I could. It'd be blast. But it's
not me
right now.
Well, and that's one of the things they talk about all the time, is that it's just like, your first step would be like, oh, can you set up like some sort of like habitat on the moon, Mars, or whatever, something that you can like live in, do your research and all that. But if the ultimate goal is to be able to have, be able to like just naturally live in these places, it's like, then you get into the topic of terraforming, which is a completely, different subject matter and a different type of science altogether, and not like how you would even accomplish that.
Or unless you start have like the sci-fi, the giant domes, and everything underneath those domes is terraformed, which that's the story for underwater and for the space. That's always the big goal, is to have these giant sprawling dome communities underwater or in space. That's always it seems to be always been the sci-fi thing to go to. But yeah, once again, it's an insane design element that comes in it. It's will probably not be seen in our lifetimes.
Yeah. I would be surprised, as fast as technology is developing, and like how quickly, like, just brand new technologies come out. I still don't think we'll see that for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Or at least implemented anyways. Like maybe they'll figure out how to do it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they'll get it done in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Elon's going to surprise us all, and he'll be secretly working on something, and all of a sudden, poof, there it is.
Well, and I mean, if we want to get on that tangent, I mean, I think his Optimus, his robot, is really going to solve a lot of this because he'll have an army he can send to Mars or Moon to do everything and build everything before mankind even has to go there.
Or he just sends them after us and then just takes over civilization.
Whichever. But if you had a robot fleet you could send to set everything up and build it all for you and have it all already processed, the plants and everything going on, everything going, that would solve a lot of the issues of getting man there. And plus, with the emergence of smaller nuclear reactors too, you could send one of those to any of these places, underwater or space, to power everything on a cheap, pretty safe form of power too. So, yeah. And once again, it's technology. The technology keeps on coming down and getting smaller and getting cheaper. So,
yeah. As you look now, the robots you can get on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're toys, they're hobby or toys, educational is what they're, under. But compared to the stuff that I had when I was a kid, that's insane how advanced they are. It's insane.
Well, even not only robots, but the way AI literally in like 2 years.
Yep.
Like just like chat GPT, it kind of came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it was like amazing right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then all this other stuff like developed because of it.
The amount that AI has changed my life in the last 6 months, even with making stuff for social media, for ASC and for the other ventures I'm in and stuff like that. Videos, audio, images, all that kind of stuff. As you've seen on our social media, I post every week an AI image of stuff that I've created about underwater habitats and stuff. It's and as Mark has Brownlee from MKH Beta says, this is the worst the technology will ever get because it's so young. It's just going to get better from here on out, and that's what's scary. Good or bad?
Yeah. Am I really talking to you guys, or are you?
Yeah, you don't know.
Whoa, you're the one that's got balloons popping up. Are we really talking to you?
What is going
I don't
on?
know. I have no clue.
This is a good time to tell you that you won the.
Is it your birthday, baby?
No.
You just won the Publishers Clearinghouse.
I don't know what I did.
That's funny.
He's like, that might have been a sign.
Yeah.
AI's like, I'd really rather you guys didn't get too deep into this topic.
Yeah.
We'll shut this thing down.
Yeah. Look, squirrel.
So we talked a bunch about the negative aspects of that, but there are a bunch of positives for both of them. I mean, real quick, I think the big calling, and I think Elon, this is one of Elon champions, is the fact that when and if the Earth gets hit by a massive meteorite and kills off all humanity, to have a second location is ideal. And would an underwater habitat or underwater colony survive something along those lines?
Probably not.
It depends on how devastating it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it might let you survive longer.
Yeah.
Long enough to get to the other place.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're down there and you're already self-sufficient and stuff along those lines, I think the only concern would be your any kind of food like fish and stuff along those lines, would it get killed off? But if you could keep your plant growing, I mean, you'd have to live like a vegan lifestyle, but you would still have your geothermal, your wave, your nuclear, whatever.
What do you know? What are you holding back there, babe?
Oh man,
going on. So
20 entered, 3 left.
Yeah,
they weren't vegan.
So, well, I mean, yeah. I'm not saying hopefully we never got to that point.
But I also think if like a big enough asteroid hit the Earth that like wiped life, it wouldn't matter if you were underwater or not, because it's the impact of it that I think is what wipes everything out.
Well, it depends. Sometimes it throws up all the ash and it cuts off all the light, so all the plants' life dies off and the animals die off because it's a chain reaction type of thing. It's usually not instantaneous type of thing unless you're in the impact radius.
Yeah, I think it depends on how big.
It boils down to that. But once again, so But still, same thing.
I'm sorry that I'm ruining your marketing by saying it might not be asteroid proof.
Well, if we build it, they will come. No, but the same thing I think goes for Mars. Even though I don't think we have too much, information about meteorites and stuff like hitting Mars and stuff, I still think it's you've got other concerns there. But once again, I'm not trying to focus on pros and cons anymore. I'm trying to focus on the stuff that's driving it. And as one of the pros that we had to talk about just earlier is the advances in technology that will come from pushing both these boundaries. What kind of things are we going to develop to force humans to live outside of Earth's gravitation and on foreign gravity and in a hostile environment like that. Same thing with how are we going to minimize and shrink the cost and everything of making life underwater easier and better too. And I think that both those. Plus, I think what's driven it up to this point in time was the desire and the goal to explore. I think that as far back as humanity has gone, we've either looked to the stars above and wondered what's out there, or looked at the oceans and wondered. At one point in time, we thought that was the edge and it fell off, and what was past there. So you've got these two different areas that have always struck awe and wonder. And to this day, they still do. We still don't know anything about the deep oceans that much, and we still don't really know that much. We know more about space than we do the oceans, but
I know it's a touchy subject, but I always think genetics, because with genetic manipulation, what can you do to make us be able to live in space better or underwater better? Honestly, it's going to be amazing.
I always halfway jokingly said if they ever figured out how to give humans gills, I'd be the first one to sign up.
Yeah.
But why not? Why not?
I'll tell you why after the recording, because I'm not going to bring it up here. I'll tell you why. Anyways.
So, but some of the, especially when it comes to underwater habitats, colonies, whatever. I think that once again, the biggest pros on that is the fact that you are still on Earth. And so you've got all the benefits of being that close to either ship materials, to build, to support, etc. Plus, we've had hundreds, if not thousands of years of playing and living in and around the water already. So it's a familiar environment to us for the most part. We know the risks. We know how to overcome most of them to some extent or not another. And like I said earlier, is you can get all your food and all your renewables from the surrounding area. So it's those reasons that, to me, I think the question ultimately boils down to is that what we talked about with the asteroid. That's really the big differentiator, I think, between the two is that worst case scenario, who lasts longer, and in that case, the space is going to most likely win. Plus, I need to explore. We have got decades, if not hundreds of years still of exploration under the water ahead of us that we just don't know about. So there is that area of exploration and the unknown underwater that, who knows, not trying to sound like a hippie or something like that, but holistic medicine, what kind of plants, what kind of stuff can we find down there for cures and for other stuff like that we just don't know about yet, that could still be underwater, and that we could find the cure for whatever next year, just based on putting an underwater habitat in a new area and just really exploring that area. I don't know.
It continues to blow my mind that even on land, like every few years you hear about biologists discover some new species of some animal. And it's just we've been on land for thousands of years and we're still discovering stuff that's in, broad daylight, really. Yep. Granted, maybe in jungles and forests, stuff but it's just we're still discovering that, but yet what was it, 5 to 7% of the explored ocean, give or take? It's just because when you think of that mathematically, it's just we probably only know 5% of the marine life.
Yeah.
When you think about that, we've only seen that much, or whatever it is. And granted, obviously that doesn't mean those numbers add up that way, but there has to be tons and tons of like you said, different plants and fish and whatever, out there that's just like that we've never seen before because of different depths and different areas. And
it's going to go down to the Challenger's Deep in the Mariana Trench. They figure there wouldn't be anything down there because it's 7 miles down. That pressure is insane. But they get down there and there's animals down there. There's life down there.
And a beer bottle. Did you see that?
Well, I mean, of course. but it's like, what is down there? And is it is a truly alien world. If you're looking for alien life, I mean, you're going to find microbial stuff on Mars, maybe, if you're lucky, and that's going to be the extent of probably the life you're going to find there, unless there is some lost civilization living below the ground up there or something along those lines.
Well, yeah, because we have better visuals.
Podcast.
Yeah, we have better visual where we can see the surface of that just about at any given point in time.
Yeah,
whereas like we've said a million times, we have no idea what's going on at some of the depths of the ocean. It's like there could be, I mean, jokingly, but also kind of serious, is like there could be some type of mer people that's like actually 100%. A real thing. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, granted, I don't
hiding all this time.
Yeah, there could be, maybe like just a much more intelligent animal than what we know, but still, it's just like, but maybe due to like certain weather patterns and, means it's not a trade route or whatever like that, we don't have any business checking certain things out. So yeah, it's like, and backtrack even further, kind of like we're saying, we're talking about the asteroid theory, but I guess in our benefit, business wise, and depending on where, I guess, because it's turned into a political discussion, but global warming, climate change, whatever it is, are the oceans rising and all that stuff. So I mean, there's also the threat of a certain amount of landmass that disappears because of rising waters.
Sure.
Depending on where the science lands with that, because a lot of it's still up for debate, I guess. But having said that, what's a good way to survive that if that actually does become the inevitable, where less and less landmass is available, but we still need to continue living?
And they're
doing that.
And one of the other marketing things, not now getting into a whole marketing thing here about it, but is the ultimate fallout shelter too. I mean, if you're on land, there's going to be an entrance to it somewhere or another, and somebody's going to be able to find it probably, even though that's going to be very hard since as big as the land masses are. If you had one in the Americas, in the West somewhere, you'd never find it. But if you wanted that ultimate one, have one out underwater. Nobody's going to find it then. But
I'm going to reel you back to space.
Okay.
Just because
sure.
You remember I hope it's the right mission, but Mission 31, wasn't that where NASA did a bunch of stuff at Aquarius Reef Base 10, 11 years ago, something like that?
Well, they had done stuff for years with the Nemo. Yeah, it was Nemo.
So that's you can still go on YouTube and find those videos of a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because NASA trains in water for a reason. That's what that big NASA tank down in Texas is.
Yep.
The mock-up of the International Space Station in that thing.
Right. Yeah, because once again, it's an analog, and that's really what Martin over in Turkey. That's what they're focused on, is working with ESA, which is the European Space Administration, to build analog underwater habitats. That's where their focus is.
Yes. Mission 31, the mission had 2 goals: to gather scientific data and to raise funds for Aquarius, an underwater laboratory located at a depth of 63 feet below the surface, 9 miles south of Key Largo. Yeah, so that's what Mission 31 was.
Yeah.
Money!
Hey, Marty, how's it going? So, yeah, but I think that covers it. I mean, yes, there's, and at the end of the day, I don't think there is a right answer. I think both of them are vital and both need to be explored. I guess my frustration just, and I try to see it from the space standpoint, because growing up, I think most kids, they want to be an astronaut at one point in time, especially grow up with the space shuttles and all that kind of stuff. That was the thing. But even back then, I still had a passion for I wanted to be a scuba diver and all that kind of stuff too. It just seems to be an imbalance. And I understand that you've got Bezos and Musk and Branson and all that with their billions out there making it cool and getting notoriety and drawing it. It just doesn't seem there's anybody on our side necessarily doing that per se. And I think part of it is just because the oceans are right here. You can walk in your backyard, you can see them. So it's not as mysterious or as awe-inspiring because I think we take it for granted type of thing,
Yep.
type of situation.
What I was sitting here thinking. Yep.
Yeah, it's more taking for granted because it's big deal. It's water.
Well, we also have the challenge that we've talked about from the very beginning is that the benefit the space industry has is that humans haven't gone and trashed space yet and like completely like ruined it. Not to say that we've completely ruined our oceans, but we have not been kind to them in the past, obviously. So when what we're trying to accomplish will always be met with that surface level of like, oh well, what is that going to be beneficial? Whereas like nobody cares about that with space, which I get it. There's not marine life out just floating in space, not that we know of, anyways. But so like they have less opposition because of stuff like that. Their laws and all that stuff is a super gray area, and the laws that they face is like, hey, can we leave this? Like, can we leave the launch our ships and stuff? Because after it's out there to a certain thing, it's just like you can't really tell us what to do.
Who's going to police it? I mean,
yeah,
you can get in trouble if you come back, but
yeah, pull me over. Like I don't care. Like what's going to happen? But so that like you said, that's the unfair part of it because
it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And so once again, but that goes for the oceans too, because it is out of sight, out of mind. We don't see the trash we're throwing in there because it gets out there and it gets currents and stuff taken out, which is why underwater habitats are important. Because if we get enough of those out there and we get those out in the ocean and people can actually go and see, and we've got live stream cameras on them all day long and people are getting a view of what's going on in the ocean all the time, will that change how we view? I mean, no, there's going to be people out there, no matter what you say or do to them, they're still going to trash it. But it will at least give us some better understanding of what we're doing, I think, and put it into more of a perspective versus people who a lot of people don't trust because they see them as tree huggers or left-wing crazies talking about all this type of stuff. Whatever you view on them. So some people, there's half the United States or half the world that's not going to take them seriously. But when we can actually show this, hey, here's what's going on type of thing, I think that, hopefully that could be some beneficial good.
Yeah, because I know this is going to be like a silly comparison, but one of the things I like to do is I have one of those VR headsets or whatever, and I like to go on like the VR YouTube or whatever, and you can do like like these like simulated videos of like traveling through space, or there is like underwater stuff and stuff like that. And it's like, it's just so cool to, see those and things. And I would honestly encourage a lot of people to do that kind of thing, especially with like the ocean ones and stuff, because it gives you a realistic feel or somewhat realistic feel of like being amongst that. And it's such a cool feeling, even though obviously it's artificial and it's not the real deal, but just like having that feeling of like looking around and seeing your surroundings of like, whether it's like the fish or like the corals and whatever it may be. And like, it just whatever, and just immersing yourself with it. And then the space ones are awesome too. I have a fun time with that because it's like with you, Brendan, I don't see myself ever jumping on a ship. But I like the thought of like being able to look around and see it. That's kind of cool. But so I mean, it's I guess the point I'm trying to make is like being able to make that be a real thing, because the VR part's cool. But it's fake. Yeah. Being able to be immersed in it for real and having an actual opportunity to do that, it's crazy that people think that it's a crazy idea.
Yeah.
Because it's more than possible. People have already done it. Maybe not a whole lot of them, but it's been done. Like we have underwater habitats. We've had underwater habitats. We're just trying to bring it to the public so that more and more people can experience that and get a better appreciation for it. And honestly, at a much, much, much more affordable rate than what it's going to ever be for you to be launched into space and get that for literally a few minutes is what a lot of these tourist things are, where you get up there, you're like, oh, cool, look at me, I'm weightless. Get back in your seat because we're going back down. It's like, and they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on that. So,
and here's two other things that I haven't addressed real quick too is I think one of the big things with the differences is that the oceans are finite. There is only so much space there, even though they're enormous. And I think, once again, it's one of those things where you look at, you start pulling out in space and you go about, your mind can't comprehend how large the universe is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we can fully comprehend how large the oceans are either. We think we have an idea because we see them and we walk and all that kind, and we fly, but I don't think people are truly understanding how large and how much. There's 99.99% of the livable space on the Earth is in the water because it's 3-dimensional. So there's so much space there, but it's still, at the end of the day, it is finite. So I think to some people that is a mental block, or it's not as cool because you don't have unlimited space to travel to eventually, even though it's going to take hundreds, if not thousands of years for us to even get that far out. But the idea is there. And so that I think that stirs the creativity in the minds of people more than the ocean as well. And so that's something we have to combat against as well, to really win over and sell this to people.
Well, I heard on a podcast here the other day, a girl that she had lived on the coast, real close to the beach, like that was their kind of everyday life was beach stuff, but that was it. It was surface stuff, and what it was is her friend of hers talked her into doing scuba diving. She didn't want to because she had been at the ocean all of her life up to then, and didn't have a clue what was underneath that water. And you see the pictures, you see this, but you don't know until you go there. You don't know, and that's, so she says it was just mind blowing because she was afraid of it and avoided it all those years. But she lived at the ocean. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. It don't compute to me but that's what we're talking about. So she literally had her eyes open by actually doing that. And how many more people would do that?
Yep.
Yeah. So, what a good deal. So, if anybody has ideas on how to better market this, we're all ears. But in the meantime, we'll just keep on keeping on what we're doing right now. So yeah. But anyway, if you guys have it, that's pretty much all the notes I had for tonight as far as that goes. I mean, and let's see if I had anything they wanted to add into that or anything others we wanted to go over and discuss. If not, we can go ahead and start wrapping her up then.
All right. I'm going to take us there. And then if
anybody take you there.
I'll do it. All right. AtlanticSeaColony.com.
Speaking of which, actually, first off, Marty's got a habitat design contest. I mean, I thought about that. That'd be fun. But I mean, we're pretty much already set on our design, so it'd be more like a fun type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to it. Also, I am currently working on the new ASC website, so just FYI on that.
You're always like just.
It's been like that for a while, dude.
I always give Brendan a hard time because he's very he's always particular about his websites. Even other ones that he's worked on before, he's always like, I think I have a better idea.
Yep, I got 2 other ones in my back pocket I'm working on right now too.
Yeah, cool. Like I said, that's not just an ASC thing; that's a Brendan thing.
But... Yeah, it's Brendan. That's very much so.
So, AtlanticSeaColony.com, that's the website of this project that we've been talking about. That's where you can go to find it. So on AtlanticSeaColony.com, You can get all of our socials on there. We have the Facebook, obviously. We have the X, which we're streaming to right now.
And actually, we are now a premium member on X now too. So you can go subscribe to us or go get stuff like that.
We got checked.
We got our blue check mark.
Yay! So we're on X.
It does give us some stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff,
yeah.
though. Yeah,
it's cool. Instagram, LinkedIn, obviously YouTube if you're watching from YouTube right now, and we also have. All right, before I jump to that, I'll talk about the other spots on the website. There's a resource page too that Brendan uploads or updates, podcasts, YouTube channels, books, in the realm of what we talk about. If this is like a subject matter you're interested in, go to that resource page on AtlantaCcolony.com and check out some of the staff picks. And by staff, I mean it's Brendan that's put it up there. But
well, you guys are there too.
I don't know if I've ever suggested anything. So maybe Babe and Brendan. I just talk about it. So yeah, all of our social medias are over there. Also, check out the Colonize the Ocean. Well, I'm sorry. Is it still Colonize the Ocean podcast?
It is.
You haven't changed. Okay.
No, I'm gonna keep it that way. Yeah.
Okay, so Colonize the Ocean podcast. Most of the live streams get turned into a podcast form. Plus, Brendan also uploads some shorts on there as well. It's on all of any podcast app that you use. You can find us on there. Go and subscribe to that, and listen in your free time. Maybe you're on your way to work. You want to hear about some of that? Go and do that. Also, on AtlantaCcolony.com, we can get the link to our Discord channel. That's where we talk about all the different topics involving this, whether it's a habitat designs. Marty just mentioned habitat design contest. There's a lot of people that upload different designs and stuff into the Discord as well. So I mean, if you find some cool pictures or you've designed some cool stuff, you can share it with the other folks in there, and a lot of people have done that. It's pretty cool. Or maybe you want to talk about some underwater movies and stuff like that. Brendan was really high on the Abyss for a while there. So
hey, that 4K version's getting ready to come out.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a watch party.
Yeah.
So yeah, join the Discord. There's all kinds of cool stuff over there. Plus, and I'll get to the Patreon here, but if you're a Patreon member, you can get access to a couple of channels in there exclusive to the Patreon members, voice chatting and just a couple threads in there. So yeah, just join the group. We like to talk about all kinds of different stuff. It's fun in there. AtlantaCcolony.com/merch. Babe with as our model as usual today. Look at that cool t-shirt design he's got. So the different t-shirts, hoodies, mouse pads, mugs, you name it, it's over there. It's if you find a design you like or whatever, and you buy a little of that gets put towards ASC as well. So it's always helpful. And speaking of Patreon and ways to help, patreon.com/AtlantaCcolony. First off, let's thank the patrons. We got Brian Acosta, Matthew Cathy, Martin Reese, S. Babe Hyde, Adam Jewell, and Ron Traxler. I'm not going to call him Daddy Traxler this time, but Ron Traxler. So the Patreon members, thank you guys for your support in that. We have different tiers for that, and we're still working on the brainstorming of what?
Babe's like watching something walk by his house in there.
Oh, I'm like, why are you laughing at me? Working on different stuff for the Patreon members and different tiers and all that. But go check that out. And if you're able to help, obviously we'd gladly appreciate it. Other than that, I think we got everything covered. I think we're going to schedule a business meeting with the three of us folk. Yep. And, we'll do another one of these here soon.
Yeah.
February is over next week.
So that'll be in March.
Short month. But yeah, until then, I want everybody to have a grand old time. Check out all the things I told you to check out. Get on that Discord. Get on our social medias. Come say hi. Share our stuff. Just be our friends and share our content. That's super helpful, actually. So until next time, guys, we will see you soon. Bye-bye.